All right, so we're diving deep today right into their Anurag Sagar van Kabir Ocean of Love. And yeah, I get it. German spiritual text, not exactly everyone's cup of tea, but you specifically requested this deep dive. And let me tell you, this is way more interesting than it might sound at first.
Definitely more than meets the eye, huh?
Absolutely. We're looking at the Ein Salut und Hinweis, which basically means a salute and reference, and it's like a crash course on some pretty intense spiritual concepts. We're talking about the soul, about creation, this figure named Kirpal. It's a lot to unpack.
It really throws you right in, doesn't it? I mean, the author just comes out swinging, greeting the absolute. Sawan Singh, even the moon gets a shout out, and Anami Purush. It's like a whole spiritual roll call before we even get started.
Seriously, it's like, all right, everyone important's here, let's do this thing, but why even bother with that? I mean, what's the point of these shout-outs?
Well, it's all about setting the stage, right? Think of it like you're walking into a conversation that's already in full swing. You wouldn't just jump in with your 2 cents. You'd want to get a feel for who's talking, what ideas they're riffing on. That's what the author's doing here. They're aligning themselves with a specific lineage, a spiritual tradition, showing respect for what came before.
So it's less about the actual individuals and more about what they represent, like their place in the tradition.
Exactly. They're like markers for a whole constellation of beliefs, practices, that sort of thing.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now let's talk about this Kirpal figure, because he's clearly the big kahuna here. I mean, king of kings, ruler of Anami Purush. This guy's got some serious spiritual clout. Who is he?
Yeah, he's definitely presented as the main man, no doubt. More than just a king, though, right? He's like the ultimate guide in this text, holding the keys to spiritual liberation. And the reverence the author has for him, it just jumps off the page.
Yeah, and it's not just respect, is it? There's this feeling that Kirpal's offering a path, a way to reach this Anami, which the text describes as our true home.
Absolutely. And this is where things get really, really interesting. We need to unpack this whole concept of Anami because it's not what you'd expect. So many traditions talk about creation coming from nothingness, right? Some kind of void.
Yeah, the classic origin story.
Right. But this text flips the script. Anami, it's there before the absolute, even before the whole idea of a beginning. It's like, imagine a canvas before anyone even thought about painting on it. Just that pure potential, that blank slate, that's Anami.
Whoa, okay, hold on. My brain's doing backflips trying to wrap around that. So it's not just that Anami came first, it's like it exists outside of time itself.
You got it. It really throws a wrench in our whole linear understanding of time and creation. Anami, it's presented as this reality beyond duality, beyond our usual ideas of beginnings and endings.
Okay, and it gets even more wild because the text says beyond Anami is his home, even before he said, I will be. So it's like Anami is this primordial state, but there's something even more fundamental behind it.
It's a real head scratcher, right? But I think that's what makes it so fascinating. It speaks to the limits of language when you're trying to talk about these big, vast spiritual concepts. I mean, how do you put words to something that existed before words themselves?
Yeah, it's like trying to describe what like happiness feels like. You know it when you feel it, but to put it into words. Anyway, moving on, there's this whole passage about souls in the Maha Sun being liberated with Kirpal's banner held high. It's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's a really vivid image, isn't it? It's like a glimpse into this whole journey the soul takes towards liberation, towards going back to that ultimate reality of Anami we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Think of Maha Sun as this incredible expanse of pure consciousness. And Kirpal, with his banner, he's the guide who's helped these souls reach this place. It's a victory, a homecoming.
Like he's saying, welcome home, you made it. But here's the thing, does the text actually tell us how to get there? Is there like a map, a set of instructions or something?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the text, it doesn't exactly give us a step-by-step guide, but there's definitely a huge emphasis on following Kirpal's teachings. It's like, through his guidance, liberation is possible. It's implied.
So it's like Kirpal's holding the map, but it's up to each of us to actually walk the path.
Exactly. He's the guide, but the journey is yours to take.
Okay, hold on, because this is where things get even more interesting. We're introduced to the 16 sons of Sat Purush, who are described as being interconnected, like a team. What's going on here?
Okay, so this is where the text gives us a little peek into some potential connections with other spiritual traditions, specifically Sant Mat, which originated in India. Now, we don't know for sure if the author was directly drawing from Sant Mat, but the similarities, they're definitely there. In that tradition, Sat Purush often refers to a higher level of reality, and these 16 sons, they could be seen as like emanations or aspects of that reality.
So if we think of Sant Purge as like the source code, these 16 suns are like the programs running within it, each one with its own specific function.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. It suggests this whole hierarchy of spiritual forces at play, each one playing a specific role in the grand scheme of things.
It's like a giant cosmic dance. Everyone's got their part to play. And speaking of connections, there are also mentions of Nanak and Angad, who are clearly revered figures here. Any thoughts on who they might be?
This is another clue that points us towards St. Matt. So, Nanak, he's a huge figure in spiritual history. We're talking about the founder of Sikhism, a tradition that also has its roots in India. And Angad, he was Nanak's successor. So the author's likely giving a nod to this lineage of spiritual masters and the wisdom they passed down.
It's incredible how this text is like weaving together all these different threads from different traditions. It's like a tapestry of spiritual searching across cultures and time.
Exactly. There are often universal truths, echoes of wisdom that you find popping up in different spiritual paths. They resonate no matter where they come from.
Okay, get ready for a real head scratcher because the last passage throws us for a loop. Jamal jumps in and says, my description is worthless, basically saying words can't capture the divine. Right?
Yeah, it's like he's hit a wall.
Exactly. But then he talks about being given his word. So which is it? Do words work or not? I'm so confused.
This is the paradox, right? The paradox of trying to talk about spiritual experience. How do you describe something that's beyond description? Jamal, he's wrestling with this very dilemma. He knows human language has its limits, but at the same time, he's pointing to a deeper truth, a word that goes beyond words. Think of it like this. If you try to describe the ocean just by pointing to a single wave.
Yeah, you're losing me there a little, to be honest. What's that wave in this metaphor?
Right, so the wave, that's like all the words, the concepts, the images we use to try and capture the divine, but the ocean itself, that's the real deal, the vastness that can't be contained by language.
So what are we supposed to do? Just give up on words completely? How do we even approach this word that's beyond language if we can't even talk about it?
I think it's less about giving up on words and more about realizing their limitations. It's about recognizing that sometimes the most profound experiences, they can't be captured in a neat little package of words. It's like you can read about the ocean, study it, even memorize the names of every fish, but to really know the ocean, you got to jump in.
So it's more about experiencing it directly than trying to understand it intellectually.
That's it. That direct experience, that's what transcends language.
And maybe that's the real invitation of this whole text, right? It's not just about understanding these ideas on a mental level, but about using them as a springboard to dive into the depths of our own being.
Wow, that's so insightful. I love that. It's like we spend all this time searching for these grand truths in far-off places when the most profound journey might be the one that leads us inward.
It's like we've been handed a treasure map and the X doesn't mark some distant island. It's buried within us all along.
And sometimes all it takes is a little nudge, a whisper, a word beyond words to start us on that journey.
So, to everyone listening, as you delve deeper into their Anurag Sagar Funkabir, remember this: if words are worthless in describing the divine, what other ways can you connect with that truth? What if instead of trying to grasp it with your mind, you let it wash over you, like the ocean itself? Maybe then the true meaning of Anami, of Kirpal's guidance, of the soul's journey, it'll all reveal itself, not through words, but through your own direct experience. This deep dive has been quite a journey. It feels like we've just dipped our toes into this vast, mysterious ocean of spiritual thought, and honestly, I'm ready to dive in